Okay, hello and welcome to another episode of Hiring and Inspiring. Today's guest is Silvia Campos. Silvia is firstly an esteemed business owner. She runs a business in Australia for many years. She's also a former sales professional. She's from Brazilian heritage, now living in Australia, and she's very passionate about all things business, all things sales, and I can't wait to have a chat to her today to really, firstly get to know her a bit more, find out some more about her experiences, and as always, learn from her as a guest. So, Sylvia, with that introduction, welcome to the show. How are you getting on?
Hi, Joe. Thank you for the introduction. It's very nice to be here. I'm stoked to be here.
Can't wait. I'm really happy to have you as well. So, I want to kick it off and talk firstly about your experience as a business owner, right? So you have been running a business. Is it called SLJ, right, for the last sort of 7 years or so? To tell me a bit more about, I guess, that the journey of starting up that business, how that's gone over the years, and how you found that whole experience.
Sure, Joe. So the company's name is actually NSJ Group Australia. And the thing was, it's been nearly 5 years that we have actually changed the name. Yeah, but it started, it was previously called Sylvia's Cleaning Service when I first started it, but didn't last for a long time. So I started the business on my own. And then after a little while, my business partner actually joined me as well. And that was when we changed the name. So we changed the name to NSJ Group, and we've
Gotcha.
been we've been doing construction cleaning and window cleaning in Sydney and in the lower area for pretty much nearly 6 to 7 years. Yes. And yeah, so with that, so saying that so my business partners is actually Jose Camilo, and we organized everything in a manner that I could do what I'm good at, and he used his skills as well. So I was doing business development and operations, and he was actually doing the administrations and the financial side of it as well. So yeah, the company we the idea of working in Sydney, providing services, cleaning services, was actually to help immigrants. So at that time, well, you know, I'm an immigrant and I had many friends with me, and that was my networking at that time. And I couldn't actually um, get a job because I had broken English and I wasn't actually using my skills to as a civil engineer, which is my background. So I couldn't actually get a job. It's like doing what I was made to do and things like that. So we just start to help immigrants, and yeah, so that was the initial idea, to actually be able to do something that we could use our knowledge and be always talking to those people interested in the same thing, and always getting better and actually having a nice culture. And yeah, so they could just work together until they find their jobs.
Yeah, nice. So, how long had you been in Australia when you actually started the business?
Good question. So I first arrived in Australia in 2013, but the company started in 2017.
Mm.
So yeah, so that was a small business. We're still a small business, but that was, yeah, just Silva's cleaning service at
Yeah.
that time. So in 2017, yes.
So it sounds like you almost created the business as a tool to sort of embed yourself deeper into life in Australia by improving the language, improving your network, and also making some friends as well. Building that connections, and I think it's
Yeah.
something that I don't know. A lot of people, your work is important, right? It ties yourself. You feel a lot of sort of self worth to what you do. It sounds like you use that as a tool to really enhance your sort of, how you feel about life in Australia. Is that right?
That's totally, yeah, correct. That was actually the idea. because we knew we had the knowledge, but we couldn't use it in a way that's like, it's like with English is not our first language, and it's very challenging. We can accept that we're never going to be as good as native speakers are, and we have to understand our strengths and work on that, and we have to understand our weaknesses and just like not actually think a lot about it. So just like disregard some parts and be very resilient as well. And yeah, so I think that's correct. Yes, that's
Yeah.
what happened. Mhm.
So you obviously have a strong background in business. You've also got an engineering degree. You've also strong in the sales aspect. You bring a lot to the table. What do you as an individual? What do you see like your main strengths in business?
Good question. I like business development.
Mm,
It's something that I do in a very natural way. Yeah, it's just like having conversations, trying to bring value to the table and understanding what they need, and just like being there when they need you as well. So business development, I like operations, so I really enjoy like process and stuff like that. So I like to see things growing. Um, so I think that when I did civil engineering, I wasn't actually expecting to be on this side of the field, but um, yeah, so I'm not good at mathematics. So I'm not really good at like reading what I don't like to read. So yeah, it's like when I'm into business and when I'm um, I don't know, socializing and being able to do something creative and provide assistance. I think that's actually what that's like actually who I am. Yeah.
yeah. So when you did your engineering degree originally, I guess
Mhm.
the plan wasn't to go into sales at some point. Is that right?
It, yes, that's correct. The plan wasn't it, but I didn't know what else I would do if
Mm,
I didn't have actually um, used this path. So yeah, it was very interesting because I was doing my first semester at uni, and I did one subject um, that was actually from the last period, the last semester, and then I met someone who that was actually my boss, and he asked me to work with him. So yeah, it was a very interesting process. Just like from that time on, I've never left business development. So that was my first job in the field. Yeah.
mm. And you've kind of combined that, your background in engineering, and then you've worked in the construction industry in business development sales roles, right? So you've kind of combined, you've got you've used that foundation that you gained in terms of the engineering knowledge, and then you decide, I'm actually a salesperson. I'm going to sell into a market that I understand and am passionate about. How do you've had a few sales roles, right? How do you sort of reflect on those sales positions in the construction industry in Australia?
Yeah. So let me put this in a way that, um, yeah. So business development. Um, sorry, what was your question?
Just like how do you reflect on the sales roles you've had in
With the
like the
technical background?
yeah the technical sales roles you've
Mhm.
had looking back.
Yeah. That was interesting. It's like even though I wasn't good, it's like at those subjects, I have always been able to put everything together and have like and see the bigger picture. So um, regarding building, so in construction, um, yes, I did sell some products, which was actually how I actually learned everything. So I worked in a couple of mines in Brazil, and then when I started the company in Australia, so the business in Australia, I actually got contacted by another company that invited me to work for them in business development and selling products for construction as well. So because I had my background and I understood, I had the technical side of it, so construction, concrete, so reinforcing steel, and all of that stuff, all of that information that comes with construction. So I think that putting everything together was actually easy, and being very technical, I was able to speak with engineers, developers, have different hierarchies as well. So, and being able to communicate with everyone. So on site, so in offices, and having those conversations and those meetings actually um, was actually flowing in a very natural way. And I
Yeah.
started to understand more about the marketing and how to approach those clients. And that was how everything went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Very good. So I want to go back in time now, to when you
Yeah.
initially made the move from Brazil to Australia. How did that all come about? What brought about that move in the first place?
That's uh, that's an interesting time. That was in 2013. Well, the Brazilian government was actually um, was actually a program sponsored by them. So I did a scholarship. So they had this program where we could just apply as a student. So I was doing my degree at the time. So I applied. I applied to Portugal because I didn't have any English, as most of the population in Brazil. So I studied in public schools and stuff like that. So we don't learn English as we should. Even though English is a second language here. So yeah, if you're from a private school and if you not from a low income group, yeah, so I applied for that, and if you were a good student, you could actually get it. So I applied for Portugal, and I was lucky enough because Portugal was in crisis, and they sent a list with 15 different countries, and they would pay for us to learn English.
Right.
So they changed the plans because most of the population actually applied to go to Portugal. They had to cancel, so their plan and restructure it. So that was when I got in Australia in 2013 to study in Wollongong. So
Yeah.
I Wollongong Uni
Oh, okay.
with a couple of Brazilians. So there was a group of 70, 75, I think, and more Brazilians all over Australia and all over the world as well. So learning. So that was a program that they had. And so yeah, I was sponsored by the Brazilian government to actually study. And I studied English for 1 year, and then I did my degree for 6 months there. So that was the best time of my life when I actually
Yeah.
um, expand my networking. So I still have those point of contacts, and they are all spread around the world. Yep.
Yeah. And
And
ho-
yeah,
and how did you find that initial move? As myself, an expat moving to Australia, it's great.
yeah,
I love it here, but it's not always easy. How did you find making the move, leaving your original homeland?
yeah. Was interesting not being able to speak any English. Yeah, so I couldn't understand or being able to communicate. So, but that was the most interesting time of my life, I guess, because when I got there, so I was good at actually speaking, not good at listening. I was good at writing and not good at reading. So I was always um, in a group of people who could actually add to my weaknesses. So
Mm.
working with people who could understand, and I was actually speaking and putting my ideas out. Yeah, so it took, I didn't speak any Portuguese for 3 months. Um, yeah, I was just immersed myself in the culture. And I still remember I would go back home and have like headaches pretty much every night, working, studying 8 hours per day, doing homework, and
Yeah.
just like, yeah, having a very interesting routine. And then yeah, I think that after 6 months I got a bit better. And then, yeah, after 1 year, I was able to speak, and then finally start uni after 1 year and did like 3 subjects there only. And then,
Mm.
yeah, so then I flew back to Brazil to finish my degree.
You must be, I guess, pretty proud of the fact that, look at that was 10 years ago initially. How far you've come in 10 years. You came over here not speaking any of the language. 10 years later, you finish your degree, you finish your studies, you can speak fluent English. You started a business, you've worked in a load of also great companies. You must be pretty proud, when you get a chance to reflect on how far you've come
Thank
in the last
you.
10 years.
Thank you. I'm very grateful and definitely proud of what I have accomplished so far. Hasn't
Mm.
been an easy ride, never is.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, we have to acknowledge all of the goodness. Yes.
And how do you sort of reflect on your upbringing in Brazil? Because I know this was something you wanted to discuss. How does the sort of that upbringing, do you think, how's that affected who you are today as a person?
Well, Joe, I come from a low income group in Brazil. So, and life is not, Brazil is a third world country. So, it is a very interesting, beautiful, and our culture, it's very nice. So it's an interesting country. Um, but yeah, so life here, it's a bit challenging because you have a lot of poverty. And growing up in this environment makes you really tough, I guess. So you are definitely learning how to do things on your own, even though you have a family and you are all together and you have a loving, very loving family. And yeah, so even though everyone is together, but you have to work on your own. So to be able to develop in life and accomplish things. Um, yeah, I believe that definitely built my resilience. Um, but I'm also from a family where we are very spirituality is a very important thing. And yeah, you have to be connected to something, even though it could be God, it could be the universe, or even if you believe in karma. So you have to do good things. So I think that everything that I learned that time and the way that I was raised, the environment I was actually immersed in, and my childhood was very challenging as well at home. Yeah, because my family it's beautiful, but so every family has their own issues, and alcohol was actually was a massive issue in my family. And I learned from that as well. So I never drank much. So I learned to have a very nice lifestyle and things like that. So everything that happened and happens to me, so I always try to bring the best of it. Yeah. Um, and I believe that that these are the things that I actually consider to be the things that shaped my personality.
Yeah, massive, really, by the sound of things. Especially that, I think, resilience that you learnt that as a young age, by the sound of things, and that really helped you, especially making the move to another country completely by yourself. Um,
Hmm.
just
Yeah.
picking up on something you said about the spirituality piece there. Um,
Hmm.
what did you sort of what do you mean by that? Like, what sort of values did that, or being sort of, I don't know what the right word is, connected spiritually to something? How did that sort of affect, or how does that guide you in who you are today?
Yeah. Um, I believe because when you have a company and you're involved in many um, many different areas, so you have to have something to ground you, and otherwise you don't pay attention on some details. And the other day I was having a chat with a friend of mine. He's 26 years old, a very young guy, and he was like, he's getting to a position where he's a leader as well. And he asked me a very interesting question. He said, "Hey Sylvia, what do I do when I know that's like I can manipulate something and um, that's actually not the right thing to do. But if I know that I can manipulate something to in a manner that's like in a manner that I don't actually um, how do I explain that? it wouldn't be the right thing to do. Sometimes it could be with money, it could be with relationships and things like that. So I believe that you have to be good, and you have to do good things all the time, all the time. It's like you can't just change who you are, and you can't let money change you. And you, if you have those that base in your life where you learn what the good things are and what is right and what's wrong, that actually drives your life. And you're not gonna change your path. And I don't know if I explained that properly, but if you do good things happen. And if you're not actually going on that path, I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I don't really want to know, but I know that's like from everything that I learned, and my relationship with God as well. That's like I have more strength, and I'm definitely stronger. But I don't put this thing in question because I know everyone is different, and I respect everyone equally.
I think what I've just got from that is what you were saying, who you are, how you live your life, the values you live by, the actions you take. Being a sort of good person is more important than, say, money or status or a job title. Those things don't actually mean anything, if that makes sense. It's more, who you are isn't defined by your job title or how much money you have in the bank. You're defined by how you maybe treat other people or how you act in certain situations. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes. I don't mean that the other things are not important, but I mean
Mm,
that you have to have your roots and you have to know who you are to be able to actually accomplish greater things in your life.
yeah. Just picking up on something you were talking about, that the conversation you were having with that friend of yours actually was a nice little sort of segue. You talking, they came to you with a leadership question. I was going to
Mhm.
ask you about leadership because I know it's a topic we're both interested in and passionate about. There's a quote on your LinkedIn page which I picked up on. You talk about leadership is not a role or position, but it's a mission. The ability to manage teams, leading by example, and providing consistent assistance. That's leadership to you. What did you mean by that?
Yeah, it is an interesting one because I never thought that I would be a leader. And it is still a very challenging skill to have because you're always learning. And I would say that it is a skill, but you have to develop that as any other skills. Um, and I have always been the first one to actually go and get it because I want it. I had never waited for someone to go first so I could see what happened. But that being that way actually gave me some followers. And having followers doesn't mean that you are a leader. So that means that you do something first and they see you. But when you are a leader, when you have to actually manage people and be there for them and they're going to have you as a reference, that means that you have a responsibility, a very high level responsibility. And that wasn't something that I chose. That was something that was actually given to me. And it's actually, in my point of view, um, leadership it's a mission because of this. So because of this explanation, um, it's a mission because you have to develop yourself. You have to be responsible for others and bring the best of them. So you're gonna work on those relationships. You're gonna work on those people to actually um, help them grow. And when those people around you grow, your company grow as well. So you're not working on the company, you're working on those who are around you.
So it's just a constant process. Leadership. It's you never finish, right? You're always it's just you're always trying to evolve. I always think as a leader.
Definitely. Correct. Yes.
Silvia, we've touched on a lot of stuff. We've talked about business. We've talked about your upbringing. We've talked about sales. What are, just outside of sort of professional life? What are your sort of what else are you interested? What other interests and passions do you have in your life?
Sure, I have many passions, and I'm passionate about everything in life. But I think that to make my life more interesting, I'm definitely into sports, relationships, um, family, quality time, and friends and stuff like that. So regarding sports, I think that's a and diet as well. So having a very healthy lifestyle is very important to me. But I would like to touch on sports because it's a massive influence on the person that I am now. I have always enjoyed learning about sports and doing and using my body to actually learn more stuff has always had a very positive influence in my mind as well. So I did a bit of climbing, so surfing, I played soccer, cycling, and I I'm pretty sure that I put all of those skills together to build what I have built so far, and all of the jobs that I had as well. So since I got in Australia, working kitchens, restaurant kitchens, fixing mobile phones, doing all of that sort of stuff. So I think that everything that you learn, you can put together. So my hobbies, so everything that I do, reading, I like poetry, Brazilian poetry, where I can actually see that side of me that's being forgotten because I'm doing business. So I like art and music. So I like to play musical instruments, to play musical instruments. So all of that stuff actually builds up, and then you gain skills from those things. And yeah, so playing, I learned how to play the ukulele in Australia because I didn't have the guitar when I was going to the uni. So when I was going to uni, sorry. And then yeah, so climbing as a sport showed me how to be resilient and believe that I can go further, even when my body's not responding. It's just a matter of my mind getting um, do, it's just a matter of doing some adjustments and getting used to it and repeating and doing that ever again and again. So in sports, in business, I think that business is also a sport. I just changed what I was doing to business now. And yeah, so being able to do these things and learn and have a different perspective on all of this stuff that you learn, you see in a beautiful way. So I think that adds to what you do.
Yeah, I massively resonate with what you're saying about you know the stuff you've learnt from sports and playing sports and following sports, like the just personally, I've played sports all my life. Lessons I've learnt from doing that has helped me, I think, in
Yeah.
business,
Mhm.
in professional life. So yeah, massively agree. How do you have any free time, by the way? It sounds like you've got a lot. You've got a lot of things to, running a business, playing instruments, playing sports. You're
Um, yeah, so I spent a long time doing sports when I was a bit younger. So
mm,
I still feel like I'm young, but uh, um, yeah. So I spent a long time. So like since I got in Australia, so I it took me like 3 years to learn how to surf because I'm from the middle of Brazil
oh
and
right,
I didn't have any skills.
yeah.
So and yeah, so I couldn't understand anything that I was doing. But then after a couple of years, so that's something that comes naturally for us, for Australians, didn't come natural for me. And that now I don't have much
And me, don't
time.
worry. And me, I'm
Now
no
I
good at
go
that.
to the gym,
No
do
good at that.
yoga because yoga is such a good thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, and things like that. So I spent some time doing not extreme sports anymore, but definitely working out and doing yoga
Mm.
because yoga has many benefits. Yeah, to your body. Yeah.
So look, we've we've touched a bit on, you know, your past, what you're doing most recently, present. Well, and I know we spoke actually the other day about, you know, looking at future opportunities for yourself. What, and this is a difficult one, but what do you think
I'm
the future
ready.
looks like? What does the future look like for yourself? What can I expect from you
So,
in the next few years?
you know that now, while we're here having this nice conversation, I'm actually in Brazil. So, yeah, so it's 15 to 9 p.m. And I'm actually still working on the business, and I had a very challenging time um, trying to change the structure of the business to be able to manage everything from here. And this is actually one thing that I said that I have to do this in my life because I had to bring the business to my life in Brazil because my family wasn't actually involved um, directly. And this is hopefully gonna still exist and get better so in my future. So I keep on working on developing the company, but I also want to get more knowledge and I want to work for different companies as well and help them grow as well as learn more from them. But I believe that I have to make some connections um, from Brazil to Australia. And I'm here to actually build as many connections as I can. I don't know how I'm going to put them together and bring more business and more opportunities, but that's definitely what I'm here for. And as well. So I'm looking for opportunities and I would like to help more people. They could be immigrants, like Australians, Brazilians. We had many nationalities working with us as well. And we always give opportunities to them. And so I just feel like we have to be always working towards this. For my personal life, hopefully I have a beautiful family where I will be able to provide and learn a lot from them as well. For and that's how I see myself in the future. So nothing special, but keep on working and working on relationships and doing a good work on what I do. Yes.
Love it.
So yeah, nothing really special.
It sounds pretty special to me. Don't worry.
Thank
Um,
you.
I've got to ask you about that poster in the background. I can see
Yeah.
there's a big a poster of Steve Jobs on the wall behind you.
Yeah.
Is that someone you admire? Or is that someone that you sort of look up to? Where does why have you got that poster there? I guess.
Yes. So that's yeah. Steve Jobs is actually a person that I admire a lot. He's not here anymore, but yeah, I still admire him and everything that he has done and provide to us with his quirkiness. And yeah, so I'm a big fan of him because I'm a big fan of those who are themselves and they don't change because of society. Still living in society and doing everything accordingly, but yeah, working towards your dreams. So the poster says, "The ones who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones who do." And yeah, that's massive motivation. And yes, so yeah, I take that for myself, and yeah, I follow that. I don't know where it's gonna take me, but yeah, so I like that.
Yeah, yeah, changing the world. I love it. I got one final question for you, Silvia. So it's an idea. My typical closing question on the show. It's around the idea of success and what it means to different people. So I'm curious as to what success means to yourself, maybe personally or professionally. Um, you can take it whichever way you like. But what does success mean to you?
Yeah, I think that well, in this stage of my life, success is actually it's simple. So it's not, it doesn't, you can't overcomplicate it. But success is whatever you feel like you should be achieving. So, and it's a personal thing. So if your dream is to have a family and look after your family, you'll be very successful if you can accomplish that. So if your dream is to help people around, help your community, so I believe you'll be pretty successful if you accomplish that. So if you wanna have money, so working towards something and developing ideas and projects and things like that. So I like a bit of everything. So success to me is actually being able to manage everything, your relationships, your personal life, your professional life, and your spirituality and everything. So being able to juggle all of those plates is like working sales, isn't it?
Yeah.
You have many plates to juggle, and I think that if you do your best and keep on working that way, you'll be pretty successful. And it's a roller coaster. It's never going to be flat. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Um,
I always sort of think it's about, it's deciding what those things that are important to you, and then, as you say, trying to your best to manage them and balance them, but being okay when one of them does fall down a little bit or slips, because you're
that's
not perfect,
true.
right?
That's
It's
true.
just
Yeah.
it's impossible to be having firing on all
Everything
cylinders
100%.
and not exactly,
No,
yeah. And it's being learning to be okay, which isn't a process, but it's learning to be okay when things
definitely.
aren't
Yeah.
always going well. So yeah, completely resonate with what you're saying. Silvia Campos,
Yeah.
thank you very much for joining me on the show today. Really enjoyed that conversation, and thank you for sharing a lot about your journey and your experience. I'm sure anyone who was listening got a whole heap of knowledge and enjoyed the conversation as well. So Silvia Campos, thank you very much for
Thank,
joining me.
thank you so much, Joe. I had a really good time having a chat with you, and I appreciate your time as well. And I hope the audience will enjoy this as much as I did.